Have you ever taken one of those survival exams where they ask you questions like, you find yourself stranded in the desert. You can choose 3 items to have on your person. What would they be? Essentially, think about it. They're testing your knowledge of what it takes to survive in the network, and you go, okay, based on the strategies I would use to live out there, what 3 items would I use to accomplish that? It's the same way when it comes to network troubleshooting, network survival skills, if you will. There's essentially methods that you can use for your troubleshooting and tools that you use during those methods. In this nugget, I'm going to walk you through 6 different methods. The first 3 troubleshooting methods deal specifically with the OSI model. Top down, bottom up, divide and conquer. Top down is typically used by the client server guys, desktop support, where somebody reports an issue. Let's just say this guy says, hey, I can't get online. They go from the application layer and work their way down. They're going to look at the web browser. Is that configured correctly? Maybe proxy settings. Have you tried a different web browser, Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer or Safari, something like that. They're going to cycle through applications and then work their way down as they eliminate the possibilities up there, right? Bottom-up approach takes the other direction. That report comes in and someone says, okay, and they immediately peek around the desk, look to the side. Are you plugged in? They're looking at the desktop. Is that little icon in the lower right corner where it shows your network connection? Is that connected? Okay, well, from there, are you getting an IP address via DHCP? Are you that 169.254? I mean, again, all these things that I'm saying are totally valid approaches. My preference almost all the time is divide and conquer. That's where you squat right here in the middle of the OSI model at the transport layer. You might say, well, what's there? Ping, my friend, ping. That's where ping, which goes directly into the ICMP protocol suite that lives at the transport layer, can be used to determine which direction you go. Essentially, if I can ping it, let's just say this guy's like, hey, I can't get online. First thing I do is open a command prompt or whatever terminal that you have on that device, and I'll ping 8.8.8.8. It's Google. It's one of the most reliable ones. 4222 is my secondary that I usually ping, but I have run into some major issues with that address, and that has cost me hours. I'm sorry, I'm bitter at that address. Where I'm seeing pings drop. I'm like, man, there's something with the network. And it turned out to be this guy is just so swamped because everybody's pinging him that he can't keep up with the traffic as well. So, again, you might try ping a couple, but as soon as I'm kind of like getting into the nitty gritty already, right? As soon as I get a ping, I'm like, okay, if I can ping 8.8.8.8 that tells me internet access is good, I'm going that away. I'm saying, okay, well, maybe it's a DNS issue. Let me try and ping. What website are you going to? cbtnuggets.com, of course. And let me ping that. Does it resolve to an IP address? And so I'm going to work my way up from there. But if I get 0 pings, then I work my way down, and then I'm the guy leaning around the desk going, are you connected? What IP address do you have? And I'm start going that direction. Now keep in mind, I am talking about methods. Now I gave an example of using ping in that divide and conquer approach. Ping is a tool, a very handy tool, but a tool nonetheless. And we're going to have a whole nugget just on the tools. I think you'll love that one. So 3 additional methods. 1, follow the path. A lot of times you'll use this combined with one of the other methods. Like for instance, if I were sitting on this client computer and I did that ping to 8.8.8.8, right, and it did not work, the next step I would do is I would start working my way back. I would say, okay, can I ping maybe his default gateway, or depending on where his default gateway landed, and then I would start working my way back from there. Okay, I can ping the default gateway. Okay, well, let me telnet to the default gateway. And then from there, see if I can ping. You see what I'm doing, right? That's considered following the path to try and figure out where that break in connectivity has occurred. Spot the differences. This method comes in where you take what's the word I'm looking for? You take existing, what you know to be true, and compare it to what's there right now. Now, what I mean by that is let's just say that you back up all these configurations daily, which, by the way, I totally recommend. There's all kinds of tools. You can get some paid, some free ones out there that literally go in SSH into every single device, and if there's any change in the configuration, it sucks that configuration out, backs it up. A lot of them will let you notify you when there's that change and all that kind of stuff. So what you do is you go, okay, let's just say we followed the path and we find out there's a break going on here. This one doesn't seem to be responding. Physically, the cable is plugged in. I'm like, oh, well, there's a gap right there. Physically, the cable is plugged in, and everything looks good. Okay, well, let's verify. Let's pull the config from this device and compare it to something I have in backup. Let's just say that configuration backup, and spot the differences. That can also hold true for monitoring. You know, somebody's like, hey, the network's slow. So you take your baseline, essentially there's our normal network traffic levels for this site, and you compare it to what is there right now, and you go, oh, well, it looks like we're, somebody's, throttling our internet connection, throttling meaning hammering, I should say, the internet connection. So that's the idea of spot the difference. The last one is moving the problem. So, see, what's a good way to explain that? Well, that's simple enough. Let's just say I'm sitting on this computer troubleshooting. I look over here to this guy. I'm like, hey, you working over there? Is this something that's isolated to this switch port or this switch port? Or, you know what? It looks like he's not working either. I wonder if there's something going on with this switch. Let's take this switch out, swap it out for, that guy. Obviously, hopefully nobody's plugged in there, or a spare switch or something. That's considered moving the problem, swapping the devices out to see if that eliminates the problem, or moving your device to a different realm of the network to see if it's isolated to a specific region. I actually added this slide just now. I was originally intending to just talk about the methods, and I was like, I just need some application. So I created a slide called Choose Your Methods Wisely, which of course I stole from the Raiders of the Last Ark scene that marred me for at least 3 years as a child, where the man chose poorly and aged at an accelerated rate and exploded. So 3 different scenarios that, now again, I came up with these out of my head, and I thought, well, let's just apply those methods. And it's funny, as I was getting ready to record, I'm like, it's almost like the methods that I just reviewed almost come instinctively. So I'm going to see if I can call them out. You call them out if you can see any that I don't, right? So here we go. A user calls and said they are unable to reach the finance server this morning. Now I'm going to put myself in the role of an IT admin who does it all, not just a network guy who got called in for these issues. Someone who does the server, who maintains the desktop. I know a lot of you are in that situation right now, right? So if a user is calling and saying, I'm unable to reach it this morning, okay, that's a key fact. I would do some initial investigation. I would say, okay, does that mean yesterday it was working okay? I think I would start with the top-down approach here. I would say, okay, what application are you using to reach the finance server? Maybe it's, in Windows, a mapped drive to that server that's now disconnected, and maybe they run it from a share, or maybe there's some application that they double click on and it connects to a SQL database or something behind the scenes. So I think I would start top down and say, okay, let me know a little bit about this financial application that you're using. Okay, let's just say that it's the map drive, right? I see the little X over it. The next thing, I actually at that point would go flip. As soon as I see the X, my eyes would immediately track to the bottom right corner of that screen and say, okay, how's your network connection? I'm going bottom up at that point. Okay, are you connected here? Can you, I'd say, can you get online? Can you open a web browser? So you see what I'm doing? I'm kind of mixing this top down, and instead of that divide and conquer approach where I hit in the middle, if I'm standing there, I'm saying, okay, show me some application, and I'm meanwhile just validating what I know from the bottom up approach. At that point, once I'm kind of watching what they're doing, let's just say they open a web browser and shoop, there goes the Google page. I go, okay, bing, network connection must be good from that bottom up approach. So I'm going to go to that divide and conquer, and I'm going to pull out a command prompt on that device, and I'm going to ping the finance server. I'm going to say, what was that again? Or I'm going to look at that little map, and it's going to say, it's mapped to //, let's just say finance 5 or something. I'm going to go to the command prompt, do an IP config and ping finance 5. That's going to tell me a lot right there. If the ping comes back and it says, oh, it's good, then I'm going to start saying, okay, let's go back up in the OSI model. Maybe this is a permission issue. Did your account get locked out? I'd start asking those kind of questions, which probably goes outside of network T-shoot. But if I can't ping, okay, now I'm probably going to go, man, I'm almost hitting all the methods in this number one. This is awesome. I'm going to go follow the path, right? I'm going to pull up that computer. I'm going to say, okay, where's the finance server? It's over here on this, VLAN 92, right? I'm going to go, okay, can I ping the default gateway? Well, yes, obviously the user can get online, so I'd probably do that and be like, well, that's what I would expect. Okay, can I ping the gateway of the finance server? Now again, if you're the network stud, you should know that finance server's you would see it in the ping, the IP address of the finance server. If, again, DNS is working okay, there's another big check. And did that resolve to an IP address? Okay, it did. Then I should know what the IP address is of the gateway of the finance server. So I'm going to kind of go layer by layer, say, okay, I can ping my default gateway. Can I ping the other side? Oh, I can't. Okay, I'm going to check my ACLs. Is there something going on blocking me from reaching the other side of that subnet? You see where I'm going with this, right? It's going to lead me probably to troubleshooting this segment of the network based on where that guy is going. Now, I wish I had like the answer, but I just made these up. So we determined that somebody unplugged the server. Good grief, what were they thinking? Number 2. Oops, I deleted all my bullets. Number 2, users on a specific segment of the network are reporting slow connections to the internet. Oh my word, this is the worst kind of trouble ticket ever. I shouldn't have even put that in there as an example yet. Okay, so users on a specific segment are reporting slow. So now, first off, I'm doing a little, give me some information. You mean slow like compared to your house? Slow compared to what it was yesterday? Is it a website that's slow? Or is it the whole internet that's slow? The internet's down, is it like I'm asking these users the question. So this is my information gathering. That I covered some of those methods in the other nugget. Okay. Now what do I do? Okay, the first thing I think I would do at that point is I would do probably that move the problem approach, right? That kind of component swapping. I would go to, when it says a specific segment, I would go to some users outside of that segment, or maybe my own computer on a management VLAN or something like that. And I would say, okay, let's run a speed test. I'm going to run a speed test from here, run a speed test from here, use, what is that, speedtest.net or speakeasy.com/speed test. That's funny that I know those right off the top of my head. But run that test and just, validate, am I getting different results there based on that? Let's just say, okay, let's say I ran it from here. It's like, man, you got 100 megabits per second down. I'm like, great internet connection. Run it from here and it's like 20, megabits. Or, well, actually, that probably wouldn't flag a user. Let's just say it's 2, right? At that point, I'm going, okay, big difference there. So that segment is super fast. That segment is super slow. Okay, let's focus in. I'm gonna at that point focus in on probably I'm trying to think method wise. I know what I would do. I'm just trying to put it into a method. It would be I'm looking at the method divide and conquer. No, because again, this is the brutal part of slow. That's why I was like, I shouldn't even given you that one. I think I would follow the traffic path. If I were to say this is the method, I would say, okay, let's go to the next device up. I mean, okay, let me tell you what I would do. Maybe we can fit this into a method. Using my experience, I would go, wow, this is 2 megabits per second. That's 100. Something's wrong. I would immediately look for a duplex mismatch. That's where my mind goes, but that is totally shooting from the hip. That's okay. This must be something very, very wrong with that segment. I bet you there's a half to full duplex mismatch somewhere in there. So that's what I would do. I would probably find that using an official method, using a follow the path. I would go to the first switch that was there, start checking the interfaces on there. Are they looking good? Okay, they are. Let's move to the next switch in the chain. Is that, checking the uplinks? Are we getting any kind of mismatch there? Up there, we found the issue right there. Problem solved. when you write the problems and you can come up with the solutions, it makes it a lot easier. But you see, I want you to see my mind as how I'm using these methods to help troubleshoot. Okay, last one. A user mentions that they were not able to reach their personal drive stored on SRV FS1. Actually, I just had another thought on this one. Probably just from modern day experience, this would classify as a top-down troubleshooting method. Let's just say I went on that follow the path method, and all these things looked awesome. I would convert at that point to a top-down and be like, what's up with those PCs? There is new flavors of malware, of ransomware. If you don't know what ransomware is, be afraid and Google that, because there is some nasty stuff, and I've seen people get hit with it. It is ugly. Ransomware is malicious after money and Bitcoin and things like that. But people's computers, I have actually seen this where they get infected and they infect all the other computers on the subnet with something that essentially turns their computers into little drones that are either mining Bitcoins or all kinds of other. I'll just say, well, mining Bitcoin isn't illegal, but let's just say other illegal activities that are so horrific, I don't even want to mention him. I've seen computers turned into drones at that point. And that's, if I saw network-wise that whole thing looking good, I would say, okay, let's run some malware scans on those computers and see what's up with them. Okay? So, that was a side note. Okay, now down to here. When I created this question, I specifically called out SRV FS1 because whenever I see that, now I think I'm thinking more certification exam. Whenever I see them call out a server by name, that brings a huge element into it of DNS. And that's immediately where my mind goes. I go, okay, user mentioned they were not able to reach their personal drive on SRV FS1. That is by far a divide and conquer. I pull up that PC, pull it up in a command prompt, and ping SRV FS1. That's the number one thing. That goes one of two directions. One, it comes back and says unknown host SRV FS1. I go, okay, this is a DNS issue. This computer either is not configured for proper DNS, or the DNS server no longer has an entry for SRV FS1. Because it's just talking about a single user, I would probably lean towards this guy has the wrong DNS server configured, which I have seen a whole bunch. It could either be the user just being a user and getting into things they shouldn't, or I've seen malware where it infects this guy with a DNS server that essentially adds a pop-up to every single page. I've seen a lot of wacky stuff in time, but that so divide and conquer could go that way. Okay, so you ping SRV FS1 and it actually comes back and shows an IP address. Now I'm saying, okay, is that saying success, 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 I can't say that fast. Or is that thing timing out, it's not able to reach that guy? That really determines which direction I go. If it's timing out, I'm going, okay, one of two things. Either A, server's down. B, there's an access list that's preventing access. Maybe it doesn't allow pings. Or there's some kind of firewall turned on that server. Something like that. Or there's some route that may be ending up missing. So based on the results of that divide and conquer, that's where I would quickly flip over to the follow the traffic path method. That actually turned out to be pretty fun. Troubleshooting is awesome when you can make up your own solutions and say, yeah, that sounds right. Let me actually take a moment to plug Keith Barker's T-Shoot Labs series. He's creating a labs where there actually is really things broken and real solutions that will fix it that you can't make up yourself. So when you're feeling a little more confident based on the troubleshooting skills you're learning here, head over there and actually put it to the test in some of those labs environments. You have seen 6 different troubleshooting methods that you can use to survive the network desert, if you will. And then we went through an exercise where we could select the right ones based on a scenario. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.